Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm actually going to be suggesting 10 fragrances that you can go ahead and pick up that are good for the summer. Now, this list is actually different than my top 10 summer fragrances list. The top 10 seasonal lists that I usually do are strictly fragrances that I'm going to wear, and I've been within the fragrance game, if you will, for such a long time that a lot of the fragrances that I like and that have stayed in there are generally older fragrances. So some people find it harder to go ahead and purchase those fragrances and get those fragrances, and it used to kind of serve as a barometer, but also kind of like a recommendation list, but the two are definitely split. The fragrances that I recommend for people are generally not the fragrances that I'm wearing in the summer. So yes, that is a separate list from this. These are strictly fragrances that I am recommending for the summer of 2018 and beyond. So they tend to skew a little bit more new. They tend to be a little bit more accessible and a little bit more relevant for some other people. So with that out of the way, let's just go ahead and get started. Now this list is in no particular order. Let's go. Now the first fragrance that I'm going to go ahead and mention and list is Invictus Aqua. This is the 2018 version that I'm recommending. If you can get your hands on an earlier version, by all means I would recommend that. But if not, I do think that the 2018 version is close enough that you can go ahead and pick up that one as an alternative. So Invictus Aqua from Paco Rabanne. Now, if you're asking me what are the differences between the two of them, the more recent version is probably a little less citrusy, and it's kind of a little bit more muted than the original, but not muted enough that I wouldn't actually recommend it. So the first fragrance is Invictus Aqua 2018. Now the second fragrance that I'm going to go ahead and recommend is from the house of Prada. The fragrance is called Prada L'Homme. Now, this is a fragrance that is actually still on my list to purchase and something that I just haven't gotten around to getting. But I remember smelling it and coming across it and doing some testing. I still haven't finished testing for it even as well too. And I am just fully impressed with the citrusy feel, the luxurious feel. It's a very clean, very simple fragrance, but at the same time, it seems like it's doing a little bit more and punching above its weight. So it does this nice mix of iris and citrusy notes such that it's just very welcoming, very inviting, and at the same time, again, luxurious. So the second fragrance, Prada L'Homme. Now the third fragrance on the list is from the house of Dior. The fragrance is Dior Homme Sport 2017. Now, I mentioned 2017 because the years are definitely different with the Dior fragrances. Dior 2017, the one that I'm recommending, is like a blood orange, citrusy type of a fragrance, very easy to get right now, whereas the previous years of Dior Homme Sport are more of a ginger citrus, if you will. So when I smell them, they're two, pretty different fragrances on that. I mean, they have some similarities, but they're pretty different. I would say that there's no problem if you get an earlier year from it, but the version that I'm specifically talking about is the 2017 version. So Dior Homme Sport 2017. Now the fourth fragrance on the list is from the house of Armani. The fragrance is Armani's Acqua di Gio Profumo Special Blend. Now Special Blend is it's a limited release, I believe, but it is still around and you can still purchase it around if you look a little harder. Now, if you can't purchase it, Profumo is a perfectly fine fragrance. They both, to me, smell very similar, almost exact same. But what's the difference between the two? The difference is the longevity in between the two fragrances. Special Blend lasts longer. It's like a far more hyped up version of Profumo. Profumo is still no slack in terms of how long it lasts, but at the same time, you compare the two and Special Blend lasts longer than Profumo. So if you can get Special Blend, get it. If not, Profumo, the original one, will still, or the non-Special Blend one, will still serve you just as well. Now, number 6, we're moving over onto the niche side a little bit. It is from the house of Gallagher Fragrances. It's a little bit more of an indie house, Amongst Waves. Amongst Waves is a beautiful fragrance that has captured my mind, and I'm liking it more and more over time. It's like a melon sea salty mix, and it just has a very refreshing kind of feel to it, which is perfect for the summer. You spray it on, and it's really got this cooling quality that goes along with it. And the only other kind of note that really reminded me and gave me a cooling feel is a mint note. mint fragrances generally tend to have that, but this one, it does it really well, and it feels like a cooling fragrance to it, and I love wearing it in the summer. I highly suggest, it's pretty easy to go ahead and get if you get it on their website, but Amongst Waves is definitely in the mix. Now, number 7 is a fragrance that is a little bit of a clone. I mean, it is a clone of another popular fragrance. The fragrance that we're actually talking about is called Club de Nuit Intense Man. From the house of Armaf. Now, it's mimicking Aventus from the house of Creed, but it is such a good mimic and it's relatively inexpensive that I do recommend it over Creed's Aventus. Now, obviously, if you've got a ton of money, feel free. Aventus is still there. You can go ahead and purchase it. There's no, harm, no foul off of that, but I think because of the affordability, I feel a little bit more comfortable recommending this as a summer fragrance now, as opposed to Creed's Aventus. But again, if you've got the money, I still do think that Aventus is the better fragrance than Club de Nuit Armaf. But again, with that price, you can't beat it, all right? Now, the next fragrance is from the house of Atelier. The fragrance is called Cologne Clementine. Now, this one is a surprisingly good fragrance. Now, the Atelier fragrances are always kind of floating out there to me. They're not bad fragrances. They're actually pretty good fragrances, but I just never seem to kind of get around to them. Now, I did get around to this one, and it is actually beautiful in the summer. It's got this clementine, which is like mandarin orange type of a feel to it. It's got this nice peppery note that kind of comes in it. It's got juniper in it. It's a very unique smelling summer fragrance, which is just, I really love smelling, and it's a really good fragrance to wear. You can get it at different stores like Sephora and online, obviously, but definitely a good fragrance to go ahead and worth checking out for the summer. So Cologne Clementine. Now, the 9th fragrance on the list is from the house of Clean Reserve. We're talking about Citron Fig. Now, a couple of you might be immediately going, wait a second, you don't like fig, Cody. And that generally is true. There are not many fig fragrances that I do like and enjoy, but this is one that, while testing and going through, a lot of other people like this fragrance, and they love this fragrance so much so that I was like, wow, this might actually be onto something. So, I kind of felt a little bit remiss. If you're looking for like a figgy fragrance, I realize there are people out there that love that fig kind of scent, and with that citron in it, it's a little bit of a different vibe. So I was comfortable in actually recommending this as a fragrance for the summer of this year. All right, so Citron Fig. Now, the 10th and final fragrance is from the house of Acqua di Parma. The fragrance is called Colonia Vanilla, or basically Cologne Vanilla Cologne, all right? This fragrance is an interesting mix of vanilla and citrusy notes. Now, in general, the house of Acqua di Parma is an excellent house for summer fragrances overall. I would say it's probably one of my easily top 3 houses that I would recommend to people. Hey, you're looking for a summer fragrance? Look at the house Acqua di Parma and look at some of their series, because they've got really great scents that are kind of watery based and just exude summer. And this fragrance has an interesting mix of that vanilla and those citrusy, almost watery-ish feeling notes that feels just absolutely fantastic and is a great fragrance for the summer. All right, so that rounds out the list at number 10. Now, I hope you enjoyed these suggestions for fragrances for the list of 2018. As you can see, I didn't discriminate between designer or niche. There's really no need for that. If you have any questions or if you want to ask about a specific fragrance, please feel free to ask down below and I'll do my best to answer. And other people, feel free to chime in on these questions. We're all here to help each other out. And it's all just, kind of a good feel to it. All right. So thank you guys. Take care of yourselves and you guys enjoy your day.